Hey guys, it's Virgil here from Poker VIP, back again for part 2 of Coral's promotion for Poker Hands Go, the play on Pokemon, the new game that's all the rage these days. So essentially what we're doing is we're going to be playing 4 tables of 20 NL throughout the video, same as part 1. We're going to be trying to complete the promotion there, the Poker Hands Go promo, so I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of what it is and how it works. So how you activate it, you go into My Account, into Missions, and the Poker Hands Go will appear there as a mission. It's very simple, very straightforward. All you need to do is play the regular game, tables 20 NL or above, get dealt every single pocket pair from deuces through aces, and then you get entered into a free roll. Simple as that. So as you can see from this, we've been playing it a little bit already. We're 11 of 13 of the way there, so we're 2 pocket pairs away from glory. And without further ado, we're going to jump straight into the action and get going. So I have all the tables ready to go. We're going to be able to, as I said, just jump straight ahead, straight into the action. We're just going to jump straight back in. Normally, I am not an advocate of posting blinds when you don't have to, but obviously we're happy enough just to jump straight into the fray and get the games going as soon as we possibly can. Fortunately, it worked out on the bottom left table. We got dealt a reasonable-ish hand. We raised it up and we took it down anyway. We'll see what happens on the bottom right table when we post our blinds. All the other tables, I don't think we missed a blind from when I got the table set up, so we should be okay. Oh, sorry, I did. This table, we have just 2 hands to go, so actually I think I'm just going to go ahead and wait there. We have some tables on the go anyway, so we're going to be alright from that regard. So as I said, this is part 2 of the series. If anyone hasn't seen part 1 already, I would recommend checking it out first. Obviously, it's not compulsory though, they're completely standalone videos. As I said already, we're going to be playing the 4 tables throughout of the 20 NL games. I'll just be talking through my thought process as we go, and hopefully we'll find some interesting spots and be able to run up some decent stacks. So Ace King on the bottom left table, pretty straightforward raise. It's a 4-handed game, so it's going to be a little bit more aggressive than anyway, but obviously I would have been 3-betting this in general anyway. So cutoff opened, although cutoff in a 4-handed game is under the gun of course, and we take it down with a standard 3-bet. Queen Jack offsuit, going to be good enough for a 3-bet again from similar positions, except this time we're in position, so we're going to be reducing our bet sizes down a little bit to 3x rather than 4x, as we've discussed in the past. So here we flopped 2 overcards, should I say. We also have a gut shot. I'm going to go ahead, fire half pot c-bet, which is what I'll be doing with all of my overpairs here as well. Hopefully this gets through, but if not, we have a decent amount of equity. We have the backdoor diamond draw as well with the jack as well, which doesn't count for a huge amount, but it is something. The pocket kings, I know for a fact that we have been dealt pocket kings already in this promotion, so it's not going to help us towards our goal of completing it, but obviously pocket kings is pocket kings. We're not going to sniff at them. We're obviously happy to be picking them up. Hopefully we get 3-bet here. So far we haven't. We have one of the regulars in the big blind on the bottom right table. He's definitely capable of making some moves, so hopefully we see some light 3-bets out of him. We get 3-bet, whether it's light or not yet, we don't know. We're just going to come right back over the top and go ahead with a 4-bet. Making it up to about 420 seems about right to me. And on the top right table, we opened with the ace-3. We got 3-bet from the button. It's not a hand that we're going to realistically be able to play profitably post-flop out of position, so we're just going to go ahead and fold it. Ace-10 suited on the bottom left table, we're going to have a decision. I'm actually going to opt to call this hand. We can for sure be using it as a 3-bet. If it was offsuit, I'd be more inclined to use it more as a 3-bet bluff. I think the suited variety is going to play well enough, even out of position, that we can just use it to flat call and bolster our flat calling range from the blinds a little bit. We flop top pair, which is great news. We're just going to have a check call. Check raising here would be a drastic overplay of our hand and leading ourselves. I'm not a fan of either, so we pick up a gut shot, but obviously there is now a potential flush on board, which is upsetting. This just goes check, check, and I think I'm just going to check. I mean, I'm going to assume that we're never going to fold out a better hand for sure. He's not going to show us that many worse hands either that is going to be able to call a bet with. So I'm just going to check and see if we can induce a bluff from him on the river. We're never considering folding unless he makes an absurdly large bet on the river, which I'm assuming he's not planning on. We've pocket queens over on the bottom right table. With the ace-10, we're going to click call. Actually, I don't love his sizing here. It seems like it's kind of looking for value, but we're way too strong to consider folding here. So he actually has a worse ace there, so that's one of the few worse aces that he can show up with. I'm kind of surprised he didn't actually check that back. As I said, I thought his range there was going to be fairly weighted towards very marginal holdings rather than some decent showdown value. I'm happy to extract the extra little bit of value there. Possibly he would have been calling probably a slightly larger bet than if we would have made it ourselves, but against his overall range there, I think checking and trying to convince him to bluff at it with his complete air is going to turn a higher profit than looking to lead ourselves. This is a pretty bad board for King Queen suited. We have very, very little equity. He's going to hit this reasonably well. I think we're just going to be checking this back. We improved to top pair, which is fantastic news. We now likely have the best hand, but it's still not a hand I'm going to be looking to be going crazy with and looking to play for stacks or anything like that. We are going to start it off with a bet though. I probably should have made this a slight bit larger actually, because there are a decent number of pair plus draws that he can have, like kind of pair plus gut shots, hands like 9, 10, 10 jack, queen jack, those types of hands that are all kind of have a pair and have a gut shot to go along with them. And I think we have to try to go for a little bit more value here. I think if we were beat, I feel we'd know about it by now. This is a little bit thin, but I think it's going to be okay. I think we're going to be better off betting rather than checking back. Obviously, we don't want to get raised here at all, but I don't think he's going to have a raising hand here very frequently at all. So let's just hope that this goes bet call and we win, which is exactly what happens. So I'm going to assume he had either hand like 10 jack or queen jack, something along those lines anyway. I'll go and check it now in just a second. So yeah, he has that exact hand. He has the 10 and the jack. So as I said, I probably missed a little bit of value on the turn there, but I think I like our river bet for sure. And this guy opts to overbet on this flop. We're obviously folding. We have king high. It's not going to be good very often. There are some draws that we're ahead of, but I wouldn't expect to see that often when he takes that sizing. And obviously he's a shorter stack as well, which severely limits our options. We 3-bet our ace queen for value here, but we get 4-bet. In general, ace queen is going to be behind a significant chunk of the time to his cold 4-betting range, or not his cold, sorry, his 4-betting range. I think I'm just going to go ahead and fold. We're getting a pretty good price, and we have position, which are two positives, but if we flop a top pair type hand and we're beat, the reverse implied odds are just significantly against us. For example, if he has pocket kings, let's say, and the board comes queen high, realistically we're probably going to end up stacking off, whereas there's not that many great flops for us that we're likely to stack him on, so reverse implied odds work against us there fairly significantly. So it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And ace jack there, did we get paid? I'm not sure. We did not by the looks of it. I'm just going to go ahead and call the ace jack suited here versus the gun open. 3-betting it is definitely a viable option, but I think it's fine calling in position as well. Possibly should have done that with the ace queen hand previously as well, but as I said, 3-betting is fine as well. It's just I use a bit of a mixed strategy. I'm never going to do the exact same thing with every single hand in every single situation. We flop middle pair with top kicker, and we also have some backdoor flush draws, so we're definitely going to come along and peel at least one street. The heart is great because it's going to slow down his king x hands for sure, and obviously we're still going to have the best hand here a reasonable amount of the time. Betting for value seems a little thin though, so we're going to check this back, and I don't love the queen at all. We've now been reduced to third pair. When we check back, it's pretty difficult for us to have a flush, so he can definitely be just value betting any of his king x now, and he may even be value betting his queen x, because I probably would have been betting my kings as well. If this was a lower card than a jack, I'd be calling, but when the queen gets there as well, we're just going to go ahead and fold. Pocket 4 is going to be good for an open. Potentially one of the hands we have not picked up yet in the Poker Hands Go promotion, so hopefully we'll get the little message after this hand saying that we've completed yet another challenge. I'm almost positive we've been dealt all of the premium pairs, and yeah, it is indeed. So we're one pocket pair left to go. Now, unfortunately, I don't know exactly which one it is, but as I said, only one more to go. Hopefully, we will have the promo completed before the series finish up. It's going to be a 4-part series. So far, no massive hands. We're up a little bit on the bottom left table. We're about even on all the other tables though, so we're not up much, we're not down much. We're up maybe somewhere between €5 and €7 I would estimate so far, which is not bad for 10 minutes work, but obviously we'd like to be doing a little bit better. Hopefully we'll be in some bigger pots on the positive end of some bigger pots, should I say, as the session goes on. 5-8 suited from the small blind is going to be a fold. we could potentially use it as a 3-bet bluff, but that would definitely be getting very, very light. And if we were to use kind of suited 2-gappers too much, our 3-bet bluffing range would just be absurdly large in that sort of situation. It is the kind of hand that I like using as a 3-bet bluff, but just a little bit disconnected from my liking. If it was 8-6 suited, for example, I'd be much more inclined to use that as a 3-bet hand. For Ace 4 on the button is going to be an open on the bottom right table. It is raised before us. Actually, no, I'm just going to go ahead and fold. If it was suited again, we could be looking at using that as a 3-bet. This guy has shown a propensity so far not to be folding to 3-bets though, so we are going to be waiting to get a bit of a better handle. It'll be interesting to see how he responds to this 3-bet now. So yeah, he does call. He strikes me as one of the stickier, more aggressive players. So my general strategy against those types of players is just tighten up our ranges, play more strictly for value rather than getting tricky with 3-bet bluffs that are too light and so on. It looks like a very interesting pot brewing, and this guy snap folds. We have pocket 2s. I believe we've been dealt pocket 2s already so far in this promotion, but we shall find out by the end of the hand if we have completed our promo or not. Unfortunately, we get squeezed here. We were going to call and look to see a flop and go set mining. Unfortunately, now that we get squeezed, we are no longer getting the correct price to do so, so we're just going to have to fold. And of course, the deuce comes out to tease us the second it gets dealt. But hey, you can't be too results orientated. As I said, we were not getting the correct implied odds price. Generally speaking, you should be looking for odds of 20 to 1 or better. There we were only getting implied odds of about 10 to 1. This ace, I wouldn't be shocked to see this guy turn over pocket aces, so it's very possible that we don't even have the best hand come the river anyway. Pretty surprised that that didn't get to showdown. That was obviously an extremely large pot, and there was only €10 left to go in by the end of it. But hopefully that player will be on tilt now after losing that pot, and we can win ourselves some stacks. Pocket kings, great hand to do it with, of course. So let's see if he comes over the top. He does. He min 3-bets us, which we're not going to be accepting any of that nonsense. We're going to be 4-betting him with impunity. 8-3 on the top left table, obviously going to be a fold. We're just going to go ahead and re-raise this to a reasonable amount. As I said, no way we're accepting this min 3-bet nonsense. And he just clicks it back on us. I mean, obviously at this stage, pocket aces are going to be a little bit of a concern for sure. If he has pocket aces, hey, GG, sir. I'm just going to ship the money. He seems like he has a hand that he's not planning on going anywhere with. He has the pocket 9s, so let's see if we can hold. And we do indeed. So stack 1 up for the good guys. Always nice to hold with the early flips, although that wasn't exactly a flip. Absurd overplay by that guy. That's kind of indicative by the standard of play that I've been seeing at these tables. People overplaying marginal hands, and you know, like pocket 9s is never a hand you want to be calling a, I think that was a 5-bet or a 6-bet jam that I went for. And I raised, he 3-bet, I 4-bet, he 5-bet, I 6-bet jammed. I think that was it. And pocket 9s in general versus a 6-bet jamming range is not going to be any good, sir. But as I said, we're not going to be upset about it. Once the chippies are going our way, we're going to be happy. We improve to trips now, so we're going to start betting. Our bet here looks very bluffy now, because obviously we're not going to have a huge amount of 7x, and as I said, it just seems like we're going to have a decent number of bluffs here. I'm just going to bet really, really small and try to induce a bluff raise over from missed flush draws on my opponent's part. I'm just going to bet really, really small, really tilting amount. Unfortunately, he'd called us rather than raising, so I'm guessing I probably missed a little bit of value there from maybe a hand like 9x. Yeah, he did have a 9, so I would have expected him to bet a 9 on the flop, so I'm a little bit annoyed about that, but in general I was expecting much more air in his range with missed flush draws and so on, rather than 9x there after he checked back that flop, so that was my rationale there. We're never folding pocket 8s on this board. This guy is one of the regulars, so he is on the more aggressive side from what I've seen. We're just going to be probably check calling 3 streets here now in this particular run out. Like as I said, he does seem to be on the more aggressive side. I'm not using a HUD, so I don't have exact figures, but I'm just going from the kind of my general memory of what I've seen him show up with and so on. He does seem on the more aggressive side, definitely. And this is a pretty decent board for us. The 5 is a good card as well for sure, so let's see what sort of sizing he makes it. Obviously, I'd rather this just go check check rather than have to face a triple barrel. We're going to have a tough decision, definitely. A pocket eights here is marginal. He goes very large. See, the problem with his large sizing here is that it's making me think it's more bluffy than it might be. I'm going to go ahead and call. I would assume if he was going for value, he'd go over less than this. He does have the pocket kings, though. That might have been too loose a call. But as I said, it was a very, very good run out for us. That was possibly a tough fold. That's definitely going to be one I'm going to mark for further review later on, for sure. Never fun to call 3 streets there with unimproved 8s, but as I said, it was a particularly good board for us, and when he chooses that sizing on the river, he's really, really polarizing his range. It's definitely not beyond the realms of possibility that he has a hand like Missed Hearts and is looking to maximize his fold equity. Generally speaking, when people are going for value, they err on the smaller side rather than going for the the really large pot-sized river bets or close to pot. So that was my rationale there, but as I said, we pick up some more information about his triple barreling range there for sure. Maybe he isn't as aggressive as I thought he was, and we'll definitely factor that into future decisions against him. So once we're learning from our mistakes as the hands go on, our play is only going to improve against the player pool once we pick up more reads and so on. Pocket 3 is in the top right table. We're just going to see about this for protection. Any 4 counterfeits our hand, and obviously he's going to have 6 outs with any of his overcards as well against our pocket 3s, so taking it down there and then is going to be a pretty good result in general. Ace-5, blind versus blind, we're for sure going to be raising it up. We're just going to be checking here. We have the backdoor nut flush draw. We have ace-high, which is going to be good a reasonable amount of the time, so we're going to be checking and calling. I don't love the 10. There's a lot more hands now that have open-enders, that have gut shots, and he's going to show some 10x as well for sure, that have now taken the lead versus our ace-high. If he bets this particular card, I think I'm actually just going to go ahead and fold. It's really made the board a lot wetter in the sense that any of his connected cards, hands like 7-8 already got there, but hands like 8-9 now have an open-enders. They have a lot of equity against us. Hands like 9-jack, anything along those lines have picked up open-enders or gut shots and so on, as well as all of his 10x hands like 10-jack and 10-9, those types of hands as well, which you can for sure show up with blind versus blind. So I think trying to get ace-high to showdown there is going to be a struggle. Queen 7 is going to be a fold, unfortunately. Cannot defend that versus an earlier position open. And Queen 6, we're going to go ahead and fold it. We could consider opening this if we had some information on the blinds that they were too tight, but we don't really have any of that kind of information, so we're just going to stick with a tighter than average strategy until we have a bit more info on them. We have pocket 10s. This is potentially going to be our final pocket pair. I don't ever remember getting 10s, so this is potentially going to seal the promotion for us and get our entry into the free roll. I think I'm going to opt them as a flat call versus an under the gun open. I would not argue with someone who would opt to 3-bet them by any stretch, but I think it's going to play better flat calling and under repping our hand a little bit. Being out of position, we get put in all sorts of tricky spots if we 3-bet and get called, because there's almost inevitably going to be an overcard, and we're going to be put to a lot of tough decisions there if we don't flop a set. So I think I'm happy just calling and playing post-flop poker. And on this particular run out, we're just going to go ahead and fold in the ace-king 5-5. And we have indeed completed our promotion. So let's just go and get confirmation that that is it. So we have completed all 13 pocket pairs. We've been dealt them all in, and we now have entry into the 3K free roll for the people who've also completed the promo. So I'll be looking forward to playing that for sure. A6 suited on the bottom right table, definitely going to be opening. We get 3-bet, which I don't love, but it's going multi-way. We're getting 3-to-1 direct price on our money, and we have a suited ace. So I'm going to go ahead and call when we have absolute position on the hand and we're closing the action. And King 8 suited, going to be good enough for a squeeze, or not a squeeze, rather, an ISO here when the button limps and the small blind completes. So we get heads up and we flop top pair, good kicker on a scary board. We're going to be betting, and we're going to be betting on the larger side. On this board now, if this checks to us again on the bottom right table, I would be tempted to fire out a bet, but when it's bet into us now, we're just going to go ahead and fold. The bet would be strictly as a bluff though. We have hands like pocket 8s and some suited connectors that have an 8 in them as well. And on the bottom left table, I'm going to bet again for value versus his heart draws with overcards. I don't really want to check to him, but I'm obviously not looking to play for stacks here, but I'm very happy to get the fold here. I definitely didn't want to get jammed on there. Our hand was quite marginal given the board, but I do think that there is some value to be had, so I think just checking to him is going to be a mistake there for sure, given how much equity his kind of flush draws with overcards have against us. Pocket kings on the bottom right table. Yet again, we're going to be just betting 3 streets here on the vast majority of run-outs. He calls, and he calls us quite quickly, so I think he's going to show us a queen here fairly frequently. So we're just going to go on the larger side here and try to extract max value. The ace makes me very, very sad, not because I think we're going to have the worst hand now, but it's just going to be much more difficult to get paid. If he has a hand like Queen Jack, let's say, for example. I am still going to bet for small value, though. I think a queen will have to call this sizing, but just the ace kind of sucks, though, for sure. As I said, if that ace hadn't rolled off, I would have been betting much, much larger, and I feel he was going to be paying us, although he had pocket eights, so possibly the ace actually got us a little bit extra money, because I think if we went the sizing that we would have gone on the river, he more than likely would have been folding. Pretty optimistic call there with the pocket eights, though, I have to say. Very, very optimistic in my opinion. It's pretty difficult to see how he's ever ahead there when I choose that sizing on the river. 10 king, we're just going to go ahead and fold blind versus blind. King, queen off on the bottom right table. I'm going to go ahead and just fire 1 street here and hopefully take it down, and there are some good cards that we can bluff on later streets as well if we don't. And we obviously have some equity. We're going to have the best hand here sometimes as well, for sure. Like, just because he's called from the small blind, he can definitely have hands like, 10 jack, queen jack, anything along those lines, any kind of suited Broadway hands, those types of things. So we're not necessarily all behind here. I think firing on this flop is going to be good, though. And when we do get called, the 9 is a very bad card for us to start bluffing, so we're just going to check this back. And we're not planning on putting more money in on the river. If he has any kind of pocket pair, I would have never expect him to fold. Any 6x, any hands like 9x, any that he may have floated the flop with, or any hands like pocket 7s, 8s, even pocket 4s or 5s, they're probably going to call a bet here. When he bets himself, we're just going to go ahead and fold. 5-8, going to be a fold under the gun. 7-9, also going to be a fold, as is the king 4. So all the trashy hands, one after the other, like a machine gun, unfortunately. At the top left table, we have the button and we have an ace, so that is a decent situation. We have somebody limping under the gun, which we do not allow. We're going to be going ahead and ISOing the limper. I've kind of talked about this in previous videos. My general assumption is anyone who's open limping, especially when they're a shorter stack, is going to be a weaker player. So we're going to be able to isolate them very, very profitably. I'm just going to call. We have ace high here, which is going to be good sometimes. I don't love this min bet at all, though. And when he continues betting out with a larger sizing now, we just have a fairly straightforward fold in our hands. We've pocket queens on the top right table, which is always fun, and ace jack on the top left table, so we're picking up some hands now. Again, under the gun limper here, and we have ace jack on the top left table, so we're going to be ISOing. Let's hope this one goes a little bit better than the last one. So it looks like we're going to see a multi-way flop here with the pocket queens. So once Pumex makes their decision and we do see a flop, he calls we're 4-way, which does not thrill me, but it's a pretty good board for us. There are a decent number of pocket pairs that can exist there. There's not that many 9x, or there shouldn't be that many at least, and a lot of pocket pairs will probably be tempted to float at least one board here, or at least one card, should I say, and see a turn. We never want to get raised here. If we get raised in a multi-way pot, we're going to be in a world of pain, but I think we have to fire the bet here and look to thin the field. There's too many cards that come on the turn that we don't want to see. Any diamond, any ace, any king. And if someone does have a pocket pair, there's no point in letting them draw for free when they may call a bet and pay us extra money. If he has a hand like pocket 7s there, for example, any of our opponents may choose to flat call a bet there and at least see one more street. And we saw some people make very, very light call downs. Like, remember the king's hand earlier on versus the pocket 8s when they called 3 streets on the queen ace XXX board. Ace 10 off suit on the bottom left table is going to be an open. If Dogfish 007 raises, we're probably going to use it as a 3-bet depending on the sizing. So versus a 3x, we are indeed. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see how he responds to the 3 bits. He just folds, which is absolutely fine by us. King Jack offsuit, definitely going to be an open from the button. 8-9 offsuit, we may consider opening as well, if it's folded to us, of course. This is a pretty connected board. It's reasonably wet. I don't think a c-bet is going to get through that often, and we have some decent cards that we can hit. Any queen, any jack, any king improves our hand. Any 9 gives us an open-ender as well. So we're just going to check this back and see if we can hit any card that improves our overall equity. We don't, and he leads. He leads very small, so I'm actually kind of tempted to float here, but I think it's going to be a losing play, so we're just going to stick our hand in the muck. 9-3 offsuit is going to be a fold, as is the king 3 offsuit, as is the queen 4 offsuit, should I say, on the 3 tables. King 7 suited is a little bit closer than the other options, but under the gun it would definitely be a very, very loose open, so we're going to go ahead and fold. It wouldn't be a crazy loose one, but it's definitely outside my typical opening ranges. And because we're not playing with any sort of HUD or anything like that in these games, as I said, I can't really have a great feel for a lot of the players at the table. I know we have a couple of the regulars there, a few faces that I've been familiar with, but there's also a few people that I don't recognize, so I don't have a great feel for how the overall table is playing. The king and the jack offsuit on the top right table, we're definitely going to be bringing it in for an open. If it is raised under the gun though, we're probably going to fold it. King Jack offsuit versus most people's standard under the gun opening ranges is going to be in a bit of trouble. 9-7 suited, a little bit light, but we're going to be okay, I think, bringing this in for a raise. And the 5 and the 7 offsuit versus one of the regs open for the button, we're just going to be folding. So our 9-7 gets through, and will the King Jack get any action? We don't mind taking this down pre-flop by any stretch, but we don't hate getting called either. We don't want to get raised. So Broke Boney is taking his time deciding. It looks like he may be away from his computer. It's pretty unusual that somebody would be tanking with a pre-flop decision like this, so I'm guessing there's a very high probability he's just going to go ahead and time out. He might be away from his computer, as I said. Maybe his internet dropped. All sorts of things can happen online. So yeah, he's timed out there and folded, which is, as I said, okay by us. We wouldn't have minded some action there, but we're not going to be that upset about taking it down pre either. Ace-3 offsuit, again, if it's folded to us, we're going to be using it as fold. If the button opens, we'll probably 3-bet it. If the cutoff opens, we'll probably fold. The only thing I'm a little bit wary, we definitely have been 3-betting the button here a little bit this session, so we don't want him to start getting any ideas into his head about playing back at his light, but as I said, the cutoff opens. Cutoff opening ranges are going to be a bit tighter than the button in general, and Ace-3 is just going to fare that a little bit worse against them, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold it. Wouldn't have been an absurd 3-bet by any stretch, but I think we're going to be better off just getting rid of our hand when we can, rather than putting ourselves in a lot of tricky spots post-flop. With a hand that rarely flops that strongly as well, keep in mind. Like, it's pretty difficult to flop a very good hand with Ace-3 offsuit. If it's suited, you can flop all sorts of flush draws and so on. Ace-3, though, the only really good flop for it is kind of trip 3s or a hand like Ace-3x, or a flop like Ace-3x, those kinds of things. So you're really looking for 2-pair or better. Queen-9 suited in the bottom left table, we're going to be bringing in for a raise, as on the top right table with the Ace and the Jack offsuit. Deuce-7, not going to be good enough though, unfortunately. We get 3-bet here with the Ace-Jack. We're super deep here. I'm going to call and see a flop, but I don't love this by any stretch. And that's not a particularly good board for us. We have a gut shot, but he's going to have some dominating aces here for sure, and he's also going to have a ton of pocket pairs, and if we do improve to our gut shot, we're never realistically going to be able to get much value, so yeah, we're just going to go ahead and fold now. Queen-9 suited in the top bottom left table gets through. Ace-8 is definitely close from mid-position. It's going to be very break-even either way. I don't think it's really going to be a massive winner. I think it's going to be a marginal loser, but not by a significant amount. I wouldn't mind somebody choosing to open it there just to kind of widen their range a little bit from that position, but I think in general you should just be folding it. And we're going to be coming to the end of the session fairly soon, so what I'm going to start doing is sitting out the next blind at each table. And we're probably going to finish up there now, as I said, in just a moment's time. As always, if you have any questions or queries about any of the hands at all, feel free to fire them at me. I'm always kind of checking the comments and so on in the various media, so if you have any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it, and as I said, as we discussed already, this was part of the Poker Hands Go promo. If you're interested in getting into the action, you need Coral Poker. You can download it through Poker VIP, get involved with the affiliate deal. And to access it, just go into your account, into missions, and activate the Poker Hands Go promotion from there. And as I said, it's just free money on top of the regular games that you'd be playing anyway, so it's very worthwhile to do. So as I said, this has been Fergal from Poker VIP. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have had making it. Take care, have a good night.